Hey guys, it's Kim. In this video, I'm trying out another Overwatch tutorial. For my boyfriend's birthday, I made this D.Va bunny carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. It came out amazing and really yummy. Be sure to check out my other Overwatch recipe videos. I'll add the links down below in the description box. What I always do before even starting the cake is prepping the cake pans and deciding how the heck am I going to make the shape I want. First, you need cardboard. I just grabbed one of my Amazon boxes here. This board is what the cake will be sitting on. I simply cut out the wrapping paper and wrapped it around the board. And I had to make sure that the board will fit the size of my cake and was sort of sturdy enough for it. And just take this all together. This whole board thing isn't necessary for the cake, but I feel like it's just something that's so simple and easy and can easily up the presentation of your cake. I also like to cut out the parchment paper to line my cake pans beforehand, just because when I get into actually baking, I don't have to fuss around with this, and I usually don't have any room to do this comfortably in the kitchen while baking, so I just cut out the circles for my cake pan, tracing it out with a pen or Sharpie. We also need cardboard to hold each of these parts of the cake itself. Since I'll be baking an 8-inch cake pan, I'm cutting out 3 8-inch cardboard circles and taking 2 circles. I'm going to cut out 2 bunny ears out of each of them. There was a lot of eyeballing involved and I had to use a photo on my phone just to make sure I got everything D.Va bunny-like. At first the ears were too pointing, then I made it a little more round. Then I felt like the ears pointed outwards too much, so I placed the ears behind the circle and traced the parts where the ears touched the circle, and I cut that part out so the ears will look like they're pointing up more naturally. Throw the parchment paper into the bottom of the pans. You don't have to worry about adding anything extra like oil or flour, because this one sheet of circle of parchment paper is enough. This is probably my most dreaded part of baking a carrot cake, which is peeling and grating the carrots. So to get that moist and next level carrot cake is to grate your carrots. When I say grate, I don't mean the easy peasy shredding into long strands. I mean grate into like itsy bitsy stuff. It's a lot more effort doing this, but it's definitely very much worth it that I do this every time. In the largest bowl you can find at home, add in your 6 eggs. I say largest because we're doing a pretty big batch of cake. Add in your delicious vegetable oil. The measurements is a little weird, but yes, 1 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons is correct. I'm doing half brown and half white sugar because that's basically the best of both worlds in baking. Add in 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. All of this weirdly looks like a cool science project, don't you think? Mix this all together until it's combined. If you're using a whisk, what I recommend is holding the whisk kind of loosely and relax your wrist, sort of slapping your whisk forward and bring it down towards you. Whisking any other way can kind of fill up your hand after a long period of time. In the same bowl, add in the all-purpose flour. If you'd like, you can sift this in, but I just dumped it in. Add in the baking powder, baking soda, ground cinnamon, all 1 tablespoon each, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and try to gently stir so the flour doesn't explode everywhere. At some point, I had to just switch to my trusty Dollar Tree spatula. Finally, add in the grated carrots that you obtained through way too much effort, but it would be so much worth it because your carrot cake would be the fluffiest, moistest thing on this planet. Pour them each into 3 8-inch pans, or what I'm doing here is really tall 8-inch pans that can hold 2 8-inch cake pans. Bake this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 to 50 minutes or until it passes the toothpick test. When the cake has cooled down a bit, for 10 minutes or so, I started removing the cake from the pan by loosening the edges and flipping this over onto a cardboard circle. Remember to remove the parchment paper from the bottom and it should come off easily. While the cake is freezing, make some simple syrup. This is used to add moisture and yumminess into cakes. This is simply made by heating equal parts of sugar and water in low heat in a pot until it dissolves. Either bring your butter and cream cheese to room temperature or cut it into 2 tablespoons. Doing this will help it mix a little easier. Throw the butter and cream cheese into a very large mixing bowl. add in powdered sugar, 1 cup at a time. You can sift this also. It will prevent you from getting any lumps in your frosting. Just keep mixing until everything's well blended and you don't taste anything buttery and everything's all smooth and looks like frosting. Prepare your piping bag. I'm using Star Tip 21 or maybe it was 18, I don't really remember. I pushed the bag slightly into the tip so nothing would leak out and fold over the bag halfway before filling it and add about halfway amount of frosting. I got this bag tie that you normally get from the grocery section in grocery stores to hold the ends of my piping bag. Either use a really sharp knife or a bread knife to do this. Cut your completely cold cake in half. If you try to do this while still hot, it's going to be a big mess. Pipe frosting around the edges of the cake. This will be our border, what kind of keeps the filling in, sort of like the walls of the cake. Oh, I forgot to add in some simple syrup, so I'm just doing that now. You could either just spoon it on, or you use a pastry brush, or a clean painting brush from Dollar Tree. You can go with any filling you'd like for the cake, but I think cream cheese frosting goes best for carrot cakes. Place the top of the cake over the cake. I don't have most of my cake decorating supplies, obviously, as you can see in this video. So I'm using a utensil holder that I got from IKEA for like, I don't know, $2. And I flipped it upside down and placed my cake over it. And don't forget, the cardboard has to be underneath the cake while you're doing this. Honestly, I think I like using this method way more than my actual cake holder. Placing your cake on here, you can get a good view of all the sides and you could decorate it a little more comfortably. We're just doing a crumb coat on our cake since we're adding fondant onto this later. You don't need that much frosting for this and you don't want to waste the entire batch of frosting by contaminating it with the crumbs. So I have a bit of frosting in a little tiny sauce cup from the Dollar Tree again that I'll be touching back and forth with the spatula, so I don't have to worry about that. So I just simply add frosting starting from the top of the cake and then I'll work my way down to the sides. I'm more focused on just getting the frosting onto the cake rather than how smooth it looks in the beginning. And I'm filling up all the cracks of the cakes and I'm going in an up and down motion with my mini spatula. For me personally, I find that the smaller offset spatula is easier to work with opposed to the regular size ones, maybe because it's just the size of my hands. Once you fill the cracks of your cake, you can start smoothing out the frosting and only keeping what you need and taking out frosting if necessary. Now taking an ear cardboard template, use it to figure out how you want to cut out the cake. We need about 2 ears from each cake. So using my chef knife, I'm simply cutting it out. It's not hard at all. I place both ear pieces onto the cardboard. Very carefully cut the bunny ears in half. That sounds so sad to say. And just repeating the same steps for the regular cake, adding simple syrup, piping a border frosting, filling it with frosting, and placing the other half of the ear over it. Add a crumb coat to the cake. Freeze this about 2 to 3 hours in the freezer. Finally, we can start putting our yummy cake pieces together. Very gently place the ears and the face together. I want the cake pieces to blend more naturally into each piece, so I'm adding a bit of frosting here and there, and I noticed it was lacking a bit of height in the ears, so I added more frosting up there too. Very quickly, you want to roll out your fondant. I'm using pre-made fondant from Wilton. I think this is about a 24-ounce pack, and just roll the fondant over the cake. It's important to smooth out the top of the cakes first so there won't be any cracking at the corners or the edges of the cake. Then you work your way to the sides, just trimming off the excess with a pair of scissors and a pizza cutter. I gather up all the excess fondant and roll it into a ball. Over a cutting board, I dye it to the color pink. make the designs out of this pink fondant. First, using a pizza cutter, I cut out the line of the bunny face, leaving some room for the ears on top. On flat lines, I'm using it to make the ears. 2 rectangular pieces for the brows. Using 2 different size small cookie cutters, I made the eyes, and the brows do go over them. A triangle for the nose that I use a pizza cutter to cut out. For the mouth, I use small cookie cutters to get the shape of. I did play a bit with the shape with my hands. To clean up the look a bit, I made long strips of this pink border for the bottom of the cake. To make D.Va's signature, it was a little tricky, but with rolled pink fondant, I simply spelled her name out and adhered it to the cake using small dabs of water. I did go back to the cake pieces and glued it together with water once I figured out how I wanted my pieces to be placed. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know down in the comment box what kind of Overwatch themed dessert I should make next. Bye!